Platform Party brethren, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to call upon our guest speaker, Brother David Hume, MBE, Director of Services for the Grand Lodge of Ireland, to come forward here and speak to us this evening. But it is a warm evening, and if anybody wants to take their coat off and feel more comfortable, please do so. For on Wednesday past, I was sitting beside Dr. Hume, Brother Hume at a dinner, and he told me his speech is 10 pages long. So, brethren, be prepared for a long evening. Brother Hume.
Thank you, Grand Master. We'll maybe make it 9 pages today, so it's very hot today. It's a great privilege to be here. I'd like to thank you first of all for your invitation to address your gathering today, this great gathering in Garvagh, and I want to commend all those involved with the arrangements for today from your district here in Garvagh, particularly for the arrangements for the weather. It's a great honour to be here in Garvagh. I bring you fraternal greetings from the Grand Lodge of Ireland, and as Worshipful Master of my own private lodge, Macramorn LOL 291, I also bring you very warm greetings from that lodge, because we're aware that our original warrant for 291 came from Knocklochram in County Londonderry in 1829, so I suppose this is a sort of a homecoming. On Tuesday evening I was in Airdrie in Scotland, and I was asked to bring fraternal greetings to you as well from the Airdrie District LOL number 1 in our sister jurisdiction. History is very important to us, and for the Orange Order, the continuity of history is very relevant. The University of Huddersfield survey of 3,000 of our members, conducted a few years ago, highlighted that around 50% of the members are involved in the institution because of family connections. And for many lodges, the family connection is strong, and the generational bonds are highly significant. And families can have differences, as we know, and our resolutions today include a reference to the need for the Unionist family to focus on what unites us rather than tear ourselves apart over what divides us. What unites us is our desire to be part of the United Kingdom. The Unionist political parties all have that common aim. Where they differ may be on policies and on strategies, but we would encourage them to work together. We would urge them to set aside personalities, and we would encourage them to be strategic. There needs to be a covenant between the parties and the Unionist people. But while we call for a form of unity, there are two sides to the idea of a covenant. And there's no point in people calling for Unionist unity, which will require compromise, if they themselves wouldn't be prepared to compromise. So we must be honest with ourselves in that regard. And there's no point equally in people turning out for the 12th of July celebrations bedecked in red, white and blue if they can't make the effort to come out to cast their vote on polling day. Politics, it has rightly been said, is about the art of the possible. We need to be realistic on where we are, and we need to be strategic about where we want to be. As a Unionist people, we have lost much ground over years and decades to political opponents who have no desire to be part of the Union. We have work to do to regain that ground. The road to recovery is a road we must travel, and that should mean the main Unionist parties setting aside the party differences where required for the common good. Not just the common good of Unionists per se, Protestants or Orangemen, but the common good of all, because we believe that the union of Great Britain and Northern Ireland offers the best future for all of the people of Northern Ireland. If we do not seek the common ground, if we do not set ideas aside of what would be temporary political gain, then we can expect the worst. A generation of unionism without a workable strategy could witness the end of the Union as we know it. The next few years will see major anniversaries of events at the very beginning of our modern foundations as part of the United Kingdom. In 1912, Ulster Unionists were united in a solemn league and covenant to protect their identity, their heritage, and their very right to remain British. Some 471,000 of them, men and women, committed to stand together in that aim. But even more people supported them in the rest of the United Kingdom. Nearly 2 million people signed a covenant in the rest of the United Kingdom. And the issue was at the very heart of the nation. Nowadays, the nation is changing. Being British is not as easily defined as it was in 1912. Britain has changed. But a nation which does not change is not a living nation. As we approach the centenary of 1912, we should pledge ourselves anew to work for the future of our country within the United Kingdom. We should also be endeavouring to encourage others to the view that the Union remains the best option for them. Even those involved in the Bloody Sunday inquiry would have to admit that it was quintessentially a British thing to do, to allow and to afford an inquiry of such magnitude and on such a financial scale. What other country in Europe could have afforded such an inquiry? Certainly not the Republic of Ireland, to which so many in the nationalist community look for their political future. But being British is about being mature enough to reflect on the past. And Alan has already talked about reflecting and learning from the past. Irish Republicans need to develop that sense of maturity. The Orange Order has an annual stand at the Balmoral Show, has had for the past 3 years. And this year I spent 45 minutes with 4 young men from West Tyrone. And they had moved beyond supporting Sinn Féin into other realms of republicanism. And their political immaturity was suffice to suggest that the best way to solve the issue of identity was to burn down the Orange Halls and to force the Unionist community out. They also ventured their view that the Omagh bombing was the fault of the police because they inadvertently directed the public towards the bomb. Such logic is extremely difficult to comprehend, but is born of a strong sense of Republicans that they are always right, even when they are blatantly wrong. And Republicanism needs to consider why the tricolour was designed with orange, green and white stripes to symbolise the main traditions in Ireland and peace between them. One author once remarked that Irish Americans were keen to claim dead Ulster Americans as if they were their own, but not so eager to embrace live Orangemen. Irish Republicanism and Irish nationalism has never come to terms with the idea that at least 1 million people do not share its view on a united Ireland. The Republican solution to this problem was akin to that of those young teenagers from Tyrone. Those young men, however, have the excuse of immaturity. The philosophy they represent does not.